Francisco Franco, caudillo of Spain, must be turning in his grave. 32 years after his death, Spanish lawmakers are voting on a controversial new law. It aims to recognise officially the victims of the 1936-39 civil war and those who suffered under the subsequent military dictatorship. Historians estimate that about 500,000 people from both sides were killed in the civil war, sparked by General Franco's nationalist uprising against an elected left-wing Republican government. The general won the war and ruled Spain with an iron fist for almost 40 years. During this period, up to 50,000 Republicans were executed by Franco's nationalist forces, many of them buried in mass graves, while tens of thousands more were put behind bars. Following the death of Franco in 1975, Spain's politicians agreed to a forgetting pact, putting the war and the dictatorship behind them. The country then entered a period of sustained social and economic growth, eased by a smooth transition to democracy. But in recent years, the forgetting pact has begun to break down. Victims' groups have emerged to demand the recovery of forgotten human remains from unmarked mass graves, reopening unhealed wounds. From Madrid, here's Tim Friend.
The ghosts of Spain are stirring in a country still grappling to come to terms with its recent past. This is a mass grave in the village of Arandiga near Saragossa, containing victims of the fascist dictator General Franco. And there are hundreds of other sites like this dotted around Spain. Slowly the bodies are revealed as families wait. This elderly man digging for his brother told me, "It's a good day, they're coming home." Now a new law will rehabilitate the victims, giving them a proper burial. Relatives ignored for years are at last getting close to justice, like these villagers whose father was shot on August the 25th, 1936.
I've read the law, and it's a necessary law. Not for revenge, but so people know how much everyone suffered. People on both sides.
General Franco ruled for 36 years after a civil war with Republicans that cost 500,000 lives. After his death in 1975, some symbols from that era have been removed, and Spain's transition to democracy has been cited as a model for other former dictatorships. But it was based on a pact of forgetting. The new legislation, called the Law of Historical Memory, being voted on here in Spain's Parliament, will provide compensation for victims. It will also declare illegitimate Franco's military courts and remove symbols such as church plaques and street names honouring Franco. But not everyone's happy. Conservatives say it's a one-sided, simplistic view of history in which both sides committed atrocities. On Sunday, in what many saw as a retaliatory move, the Catholic Church beatified a record 498 people, nearly all clergy, killed by left-wing militias fighting for the Republicans in 1936. Campaigners, though, welcome the new law. Emilio Silva's grandfather was killed by death squads allied to Franco.
I think it's very important, this law, because in Spain, for the first time, after the dictatorship of Franco, we have a debate about the past. And I think it's very healthy for us, these kind of discussions.
As the search for victims continues, the Spanish Prime Minister, José Zapatero, whose own grandfather was killed by a firing squad during the Civil War, says he wants to redress the grievances of those forgotten during the country's dash to democracy. Tim Friend, Al Jazeera, Madrid.